Hello, everybody, and welcome here to the Wine with Jimmy Club on Wine with Jimmy. Thank you for clicking by. So here I'm going to show you a video on a specific island in the Canary Islands. This is Lanzarote, which is such a unique place that you can see dramatically from the picture, the holding picture of your first slide. So super dramatic and beautiful to go to. So I visit the Canary Islands very frequently. I've done lots of masterclasses on the Canary Islands, mostly likely Tenerife, but actually Lanzarote is somewhere I've recently visited and I'm really quite passionate about. All of the wines that I'm featuring on this are from a supplier that you can now get in the UK market. And this is the Lanzarote Wine Shop. So there's information for this Wine Shop Lanzarote. So that's wineshoplanzarote.com. You'll find this information in the description below this video. So let's rock and roll talking about the Canary Islands to begin with. This is in fact Lanzarote that you'll see just here, but you'll see this map of Spain and Portugal, Morocco, and then this yellow scattering down here is the Canary Islands. Just 100 miles away from Morocco, but 1,000 from the Iberian Peninsula. This island, therefore, has much more in line with Africa than it does, let's say, Europe. But of course, it is Spanish owned. So the Canary Islands is certainly a place that many of you will have visited before. And if not, you should, because it is often considered the best climate in the world. So this is subtropical. The average winter temperature is 22 degrees Celsius. That's around 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And the average summer temperature is around 28 degrees Celsius. That's around 82 degrees Fahrenheit. That gives you a great idea there that it's never really too cold. In fact, warm to hot is what it generally is, but it never gets really too hot. And it's a great place to visit the Canary Islands in somewhere like winter sun, early spring, for example. Now, the rainfall across the islands is typically around 350 to 500 millimeters per year, but there is an exception, and that's the island that we're talking about. Lanzarote is just 150 millimeters of rain per year normally, which is exceptionally low. But there are trade winds that come from the north, and that generally brings cooler, more humid air. Locally, this is called alisios. It's the northerly trade winds. Look at that brilliant beach that I have been to. This is the Playa Mujeres in Lanzarote. So let's have a look at a map of the islands before focusing on Lanzarote. So millions of years of volcanic activity with the Western Islands first. So we can draw a line here. Let's do that to give you a bit of an idea. I'm going to draw a line here. There you are. Now, to the west of this, which includes Gran Canaria, Tenerife, La Gomera, La Palma, and El Hierro, these are the western parts of the islands. They ascend from the ocean floor at heights up to around 1,200 meters. And that's Mount Teide, for example. Mount Teide is the highest mountain in Spain, and it's situated here in Tenerife. So 1,200 meters, that's nearly 4,000 feet. But coming from the bottom of the ocean, it's actually 3,700 meters, which is over 12,000 feet. The eastern islands, and that is Lanzarote and Fuerteventura, which sits just to the south, are on top of a Canary Ridge, which is a plateau. So they reach up to about 800 meters. That's 2,500 feet. 4 of the islands have active volcanoes. So that is La Palma, El Hierro, Tenerife, and of course, Lanzarote. So these are our volcanic islands. So we go to Lanzarote, first of all, or on this is our focus. And the key thing here, really what has shaped the geology of this landscape, is that in 1730 to 1736, there were a series of volcanic eruptions which left much of the island covered in around 3 to 5 meters of lava and volcanic ash, what we might call Lapilli or Picón, other names for it, for example. Over the center of the island spreads a vast expanse of black solidified lava. But there is actually an area here where it's a bit more limestone dominant, south of the Playa Famara, for example, in this area, in this middle area. But really in the central part of the island, very much volcanic. No weeds or vegetation can grow in the volcanic sites, but the outer edges of the lava field provide a unique vineyard terroir rich in volcanic ash called Lapilli, where the vines are planted in hollows, in these holes in the ground, so Hoyos, or locally called Chabocos. Their roots reach the underneath of the ash of the soil below, but the holes also enable drainage into the center point where the vine will sit. It's a very low density system, really, which is quite dramatic to see. Also, what's equally as dramatic, that each of the Hoyos or Chabocos is surrounded by an abrigo or a wall to protect it from the prevailing Saharan winds that come from the south and the east. The local term for the soil, the kind of soft, sandy, stony soil, is Rofe or Picón, which is a porous volcanic pebble and soil. It's dry, and it really does work here because it acts as a sponge, trapping moisture from any available source to feed the vines. So it's really dramatic. If you do fly into Arrecife, the major airport, and maybe you're staying along the south coast in the Playa Blanca, you will have to drive past these vineyards. And if you wanted to go to the center of the island, into that sort of central lava area, you'll see these vineyards. Please do go visit one of the major producers, such as El Grifo or Bermejos, for example. Very worth having a visit. And that's actually where I'm going to show you our first stop, which is one of the big players here, Bodegas El Grifo, or the Griffin. You'll see it from their Griffin on the label, but also here standing as a proud statue. These guys own 64 hectares. Now that sounds fairly significant, but remember this is very low density plantation. And also fruit is purchased from around 210 hectares of growers. They focus a lot of organic grape growing here, and they are situated in that central piece of the island. So this is about 25 minutes from the airport, or about 25 minutes from the Playa Blanca, for example. The wine I'm going to show you here, I think that El Grifo in the last couple of years has come on leaps and bounds. It is a big producer, but I'm showing you this because this is important for many of you, because you'll be able to probably access this outside of Lanzarote. Or if you are in Lanzarote, then you can, of course, easily access this in a lot of wine bars, restaurants, hotels, and shops and supermarkets. And they have a really good range. They make several wines today. I think really their good focus, certainly with the 2025 vintage, is the El Grifo Colección Seco Malvasía Volcánica, which is the important grape of Lanzarote. Very important volcanic grape here. So the plots of the Malvasía Volcánica come from the central of the island, and they pick very sensibly plot by plot, ensuring the best quality, and that's something they've really changed in recent years. They're then transported in boxes no more than 20 kilograms to the winery. They're kept at low temperatures for around 24 hours and then pressed. And then after 24 hours settling on the skins, it's then inoculated off the skins with selected native yeasts. And once the fermentation is complete, it then is eventually bottled. Really great things to look at this is it's not exceptionally high in alcohol. It's at a very respectable 13%, just 1 gram of sugar, so it's very dry, but very good acidity. Now, they've worked with the acidity in the winery, of course, to bring it up to 6.7 grams per litre, and with a really nice strength of the pH here being around 3.3. Now, as you know, with all of these, I like to pair them with some key dishes. If you scan the QR code at the bottom right-hand corner, this is papas arrugadas, which is basically wrinkled potatoes, which is somewhat of a cultural icon of pretty much the whole of the Canary Islands. Have a look at how to recreate the recipe of wrinkled potatoes. And for this wine, what I would do is pick yourself up some of the Maho verde you'll see here, which is basically a very sort of soft herbal green salsa, more like between a salsa and a pesto. Very, very important to the Canary Islands. You have the red, which is a red pepper led style, and then this one, which is more herbal style. This with drizzled on the papas arrugadas, the wrinkled potatoes, matched with a glass of Malvasía Volcánica is great. It's a really great match. And I've put just above that as well, Lanzarote is very important for high quality salt production. And you can get some salt here. Both of these products, by the way, are available from the Wine Shop Lanzarote. They don't produce or sell just wine. They also sell really wonderful local produce as well. So you can get these and start recreating your experiences of Lanzarote, or if you haven't been, of course, and you're planning to go, to get you in the mood, which is really great fun indeed. My tasting notes for this wine is it's really great wine to go through. Now, this is what I call my examiner's notes. This may be for many of you a bit overboard, but if you are interested, it will just give me, I'm going to go through it just to give you the idea of what the wine will be like in terms of its look, its smell, its taste, and flavors and aromas. If you are studying the world of wine, then of course this is very useful for actually practicing for your wine examinations. Pale lemon color with a lovely intensity on the nose of medium plus, fresh and youthful, full of flowers, honeysuckle, elderflower, jasmine. Lovely green sort of grass, mint, fennel, and dill edge to it, bit of white pepper. And then it's kind of pear to peach with a bit of lemon and melon in there for good measure. Dry, high in acidity, medium alcohol with medium minus medium body, a bit of fatness that comes through, and that is very classic with all types of Malvasías, with medium plus flavor intensity and a medium finish. I think this is a really good wine. I think it's definitely one of the best they've ever made. And I think it's better to be drunk earlier, this expression, but well worth seeking out as a typical available example of a Malvasía Volcánica from the island. Next is a very hard to find wine, which is the fantastic David Fernández, the Maho 2023, which is a blend of Malvasía Volcánica, Listán Blanco, which is more famous from Tenerife, and Diego, otherwise known as Vijariego. So this is a really lovely wine. It's made by a younger winemaker, David. Comes in at 12%, and he sources from 100-year-old plus ungrafted vines like what we've seen in the Hoyos and Abrigos. The fermented at fairly warm temperatures, 25 to 28 degrees, with natural yeast, and this is in stainless steel. Then some will be in barrel in 300-litre French old oak. Then they go through malolactic, and then they're aged on lees without stirring to promote minerality, to promote smokiness and flintiness. This is just 12% with a cork closure, and it is with wax on top. The QR code that you'll see at the bottom right is that I've matched this with absolute one of my favorite dishes. This is escaldado, which is basically salt cod. And this is gofio salt cod. Gofio is basically a powder which is created from corn. It's used in a lot of production of food across the Canary Islands. So it's used in things like cereal bars. It's used in cooking. It thickens sauces. And it adds a lot of texture to dishes. So with salt cod, you use this with the sauce to make this really thick, unctuous sauce. Please do scan the QR code. Also make sure that you use the salt, the Lanzarote salt, because it matches brilliantly with the kind of mineral reductive note of the wines. The tasting sheet for this wine is that you'll see that it's a much more colorful. So I put medium gold, lovely intensity, medium plus to pronounced, developing. And you've got aromas here of chamomile, blossom, pear, apple, grapefruit, lemon, peel. I found it with lovely herbal nuances, so mint, sage, and basil, with a salty brine, flinty, stony note. Bit of bread, cream, toastiness, almond, dried apple, nutmeg, toast, nuttiness, honey, and hay. Really lovely expression. Dry, high, so sweetness, acid, medium alcohol, medium plus body, medium plus flavor intensity, and a long length. I think this is an outstanding wine. Well worth seeking out on the more slightly sort of esoteric, reductive style wine. Can drink now, has potential for age. Next up is the Vulcano de Lanzarote, made by Bodega Vulcano. This is a 100% Diego, otherwise known as Vijariego. Barrel fermented, barrel aged with full batonnage, makes a very oily, unctuous, rounded wine. Very trendy grape, Diego, very much looked out for, sought after. And it's from an old vintage here too. We're looking at an 8-year-old wine, 2018. So it has a lot of texture and roundness to it, but just 13% alcohol, which is really nice. What have I paired this with? Scan the QR code to the right-hand side. This time I've paired this with, and this is quite a classic dish, but basically I've matched this with cheese, local Canary cheese. Now you won't be able to probably get the exact cheese in the United Kingdom, for example, but it's roasted cheese, and you could use things like halloumi, for example, which would be fairly similar in style. So you can roast the cheese, and then what I would do is serve some of the roja sauce or the verde sauce, but do it alternating. Do one slice of cheese with the red sauce, one with the green sauce, and that works really well with this style. It goes with that kind of rubbery, unctuous note of the wine, which is quite lovely. This would also match well with any gofio-based dish with fish too. I think it would work a really good example. Here is my tasting sheet for you to look at. This had a deep gold color, medium plus intensity, fully developed. This only had a handful of primaries left, so a bit of that unctuous sort of sweet acacia, peach apricot nectarine, mango and pineapple, and some stoniness. Lots of yeast and oaky creaminess here, and then lots of dried apricot, dried apple, dried banana, cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, toasty, petrol, honey, almond, marzipan. It's very sort of unctuous style. Dry, very soft acid, medium minus medium, medium alcohol, full-bodied, medium plus flavor intensity, medium plus finish. I think this is good, but I would drink up this wine. I don't think it would age too much longer. The final wine is a Bubbles from Bermejos. So Bodegas Los Bermejos that you see on your slide. And these is a sparkling wine. So a traditional method made the same way as champagne or cava, with 12 months aging on the lees, like most standard cava wines would be from Spain. This is 90% black grape Listán Negro and 10% Malvasía Volcánica, but only a little bit of skin contact to give a very pale color to this wine. 12% alcohol, fairly nice and low. Just 2 grams sugar, so this is a brut nature. 6.5 acid, so fairly high, and pH of 3.3, so fairly strong acidity behind it. The match here is I've gone quite simple again with papas arrugadas, those wrinkled potatoes, but this time with the Maho Picón, the slightly spicy red sauce on it, which, to be honest, I have on absolutely everything when I'm in Lanzarote or anywhere in the Canary Islands, on cheese, on meat, on potatoes, on salad. I have it on most things. I think it's a great match with this as well. I would also match this with fish, and fairly delicate fish would work quite nicely because this wine is on the delicate side. So pale pink, light to medium intensity, so delicate, youthful and simple with a bit of rose, apple, peach, melon, a bit of red fruit, mint, bread, and a bit of bread dough. It is dry, high in acidity, medium with a lighter body, medium minus intensity, medium finish, simple with a good wine. I think that's the best it can be. And I think you would drink up, not suitable for aging. For me, this is somewhere between a cava and a prosecco, and it will suit a lot of people. If you are visiting Lanzarote in the heat, certainly in summer, a glass or a bottle of this is going to do you very, very nicely indeed. So to mention again here that all of the wines and the products that I mentioned are available from the company called Wine Shop Lanzarote. That is found in the description below this video. And that is wineshoplanzarote.com. Have a look at it to source some of those wines. There's also a discount code as well for any Wine with Jimmy followers looking to buy a couple of these wines and or the products to match with them as well. I really urge you to do this if you are thinking about visiting or you have visited and you want to reminisce. I go every year to Lanzarote with my family and we adore it. So I think it's well worth for preparation or reminiscing. If you are interested and you would like to look at more wine recommends, food and wine pairings and tasting notes, make sure you go to our monthly subscription service, which is the Wine with Jimmy Club. The Wine with Jimmy Club is just £3.99 a month. You can cancel at any time, but it's a wonderful service to give you lots of key wine recommends. I've been Jimmy. Ciao for now.